how's it going? For those of you who hang out with me often, you may have noticed my background has shifted a little bit, and that's because I have simply moved across the country again. I recently moved from the Big Apple, New York City, where I lived for 5 years, to the little pecan, Austin, Texas. And I'm very allergic to pecans, and they're literally everywhere here, but this isn't my first rodeo, aka long distance move. I grew up near Seattle, went to school in LA, and then lived in SoCal for 10 years, then did New York City for 5, and now I'm her. Started from the bottom, one could say, although now I'm at the bottom of the country. Anyway, through moving across the country multiple times, I've learned some really big lessons, not only about what changing your environment completely does for you and how it can also challenge and stretch and grow you, but also about how to know when you need to make a big life change. It's a lot easier now for me to spot, and I listen to that intuition a lot better than I used to because I've survived and have come out better for it on the other side of a lot of big life changes. And there are indicators of when you need to do that in your life. So today we're going to chat about a few things. One is how you know you need to make a big life change, like what indicators there are that it's time to switch things up in your life. Then we'll talk about how to plan for that big life change because big life changes change your life in a big way, clearly. Then we'll talk about what it's like to change your whole environment, and I'll share too what it's like to move from one place to another like this, including from New York City to Austin, which is the biggest culture shock I've ever experienced out of all those moves. So if that's the only reason you're watching this video, power to you, and feel free to skip to that part if you want. This is totally a choose your own adventure moment. And before we dig in, for my new listeners here, hi, I'm Julie Bethany, and I create content to empower you to live your best, most authentic life as the truest to you version of who you are. And I give you the tools and resources to do that here. And I should say, if we're not official friends yet, I'd love to keep hanging out with you, and we can do that if you subscribe to the show here and or come hang out with me where I'm most active, which is on the gram at Julie Bethany, where I share daily empowerment for you in even more bite-sized bits. Okay, let's talk how you know you need to make a big life change. The hometown I came from, about 45 minutes north of Seattle, is the type of place that has immense small town charm, shout out Snohomish, and is also the type of place people stay for generations, like never leave. And my mom herself lived in Snohomish most of her life, though I will say she also lived all around the world, so she's a special case and so cool. But I had teachers in school whose parents my mom had as teachers, and there were teachers still teaching who were teaching when my mom went to school there, and people would literally find their grandparents' names in old textbooks that we were still using for some reason. But it can be harder to make a big life change the first time you make it. If you've moved as often as I have, though, it gets more familiar every time. And I've also been laid off more than once now. Shout out co-working, which I do love, but office space hasn't done as well consistently as we'd love for it to. But now I feel less concerned about layoffs because I've experienced them multiple times and it's familiar. P.S. I do have a couple of episodes on layoffs specifically and a layoff journal to help anyone going through that. So I'll drop those resources in the show notes for you. But let me share with you the thing that made me recognize that it was time for me to make the move from LA, where I'd lived for 10 years, to New York. I was debating it for a while and I felt like I wanted to, but I wasn't sure if I should for whatever reason. Probably for our familiar friend, fear of the unknown, which stops us from doing so many cool things. But don't let it stop you. I was driving to work one day and I was listening to one of Oprah's Super Soul podcast episodes, and she said basically, you know it's time to move when you've grown all you can in a place. And I apply that to physical places you live, but you can also apply it to work, to relationships, to anything really. I will note that yes, there is staying power and we don't want to run from something for the sake of running. But if we're running, we do want to make sure it's something we want for our lives. And you will have a sense it's time to move or to act. And that's how you know if you can pair it with the desire to run towards something and not from something out of fear in order to grow more, that you should probably make that move and do that thing. And you'll likely encounter fear of the unknown, but know that everything unknown can become known. Okay. So once you know you need to make a big life change, how do you plan for that? The reality is that the logistics are like many other things you'll plan. But to plan for a big life change is to work on changing yourself and your mindset to be comfortable with discomfort. I know it sounds like a paradox, but now's the time to bring up to yourself the examples you have of conquering something new, even if it's a snickerdoodle cookie recipe. I found a really good one the other day. Give yourself evidence that you've done something new and succeeded to help ease your mind, and trust yourself with this big life change. There will be external logistics to plan, but most of the work you'll have to do is going to be internal for a big life change. And on that note, let me ease your worries as much as I can and share what it's like to change your whole environment. My dad's always said basically, where you go, there you are. AKA, you bring yourself with you, even if you move across the country or end a relationship or whatever it is. But if you're running from something and that something is yourself, you're not going to get very far, even if you change literally everything else about your life. Spoiler alert, you'll still be in it. But if you are in a place where you're caring well for yourself and are getting to know yourself, and you're your own BFF, and honestly, even if you're not yet, changing your whole environment will be a wonderful reset for you. And it will stretch you in really good ways so that you grow and become a more well-rounded person in ways you might not have known were even possible. For example, taking public transit was scary to me when I moved to downtown LA, and especially when I first moved to New York City, but now I love it. You will meet cool new people, get to try cool new things, learn more about the world, and most importantly, maybe learn more about yourself. And if you don't like it, you can always move again. And I told myself that when I moved to NYC, that LA will always be there if I didn't like it. And I did eventually move to Austin, of course, so you can always move again. Tried a new job and don't love it? There are others available. You can amend your amendment to your life if you need to. And on that note, let's talk about what it's like to move from one place to another, and specifically for those of you who want to know what it's like to move from NYC to Austin. Okay. So I used to meet people like me who had lived a bunch of places and thought they were the wildest humans. And my mom grew up living all over the world and wanted to settle and wanted us to know one hometown. And I thought that settling was probably a great idea. However, I became one of those weirdos. And let me tell you, my thoughts and patterns are not quite as original as I thought they were. What I mean by that is that a lot of people move down the West Coast to sunnier pastures, and you end up with a lot of Seattleites in Southern California. When I moved from LA to New York, my moving company literally only did that route because so many people trade between the two cities. And within the 5 years I was there, multiple of my friends from LA started moving out to New York, which was awesome. And when I moved from New York to Austin, I had an unimaginably large network here already, and more people have moved here already who I knew in Seattle, who I knew from LA, and who I knew from New York already. And I've been here for 6 months or so. So I feel unoriginal to be following these natural patterns I didn't know existed until now, but I'm grateful for that comfort too. So you may find that the moves you make end up being really good for you and really positive because you may just run into some of your favorite people again in your new home. And side note, may you never run into the ones you don't enjoy again. Let's talk moving to Austin specifically for those curious about the specifics. I'll be brief but informative for those actually considering it. This is the most uncomfortable move I've made so far of all of them because it came with the biggest culture shock. Austin is much more similar to the cities I've lived in for many reasons than Texas in general, but Texas in general is just a different vibe than, let's say, California in general. And they don't always love that a bunch of Californians and New Yorkers have moved here, so you can only imagine how they feel about me having come from both. But I also didn't realize because the state is different, there are differences I didn't know to look out for, because I didn't know some states don't do certain things that I've enjoyed for my whole life. For example, employers here don't have to offer the same benefits that have always been extremely strict in the states I've lived in. Minor to large things like breaks from work, overtime pay, and paid maternity leave, to name a few, aren't protected here like they are in other states. And it is probably my naivety focusing on no income tax, which is wonderful, but the salaries do adjust to match that, somehow made me miss the benefits factor. So I do recommend researching the place you're moving extensively in all categories of life to maintain or create life satisfaction overall. I did research things like the weather and power grid here being kind of funny sometimes. And I'll be honest, when I first got here, I almost turned right back around. But I had big reasons to move here, and they are still true to this day. I wasn't as happy in New York as I wanted to be, and I had visited Austin a lot because my childhood best friend lives here. And when I considered where I'd felt happiest recently, it was here. And to live so close to a best friend again has greatly improved my life. Dating in New York was wild too, and it was recently named the worst place to date. I've gotten the opportunity to experience a relationship here with someone wonderful. I've been more social and warmer, though there are cold days. I pay so much less for so many more amenities in my apartment. I don't even have to lug my laundry through snow up a literal hill every week to a laundromat. I have a washer and dryer in my apartment, and I'm still blown away by that and things like, I don't know, central air. But my point is, decide what things you really want and realize there will be trade-offs in a new environment, but consider what's most worth it to you and how you can reconcile the things that aren't as great and try it out. We regret the things we don't do more than the things we do. So be the person who has no regrets from trying things out that you were always curious about. And if you don't love them, you can always make another big life change in another direction. Even if you turn to the direction from whence you originally came, you will return a more actualized human being. Okay, that's all for today. And if you like this episode, will you do me a favor and give it a thumbs up? Share it with a friend, rate it, or subscribe, because I would love to keep hanging out with you here or on Instagram at Julie Bethany. And hey, if you're feeling stuck right now and want someone, aka me, to guide you through the exact simple steps of getting unstuck and getting moving on your goal right now to feel happier, I have a free mini course you can watch now and a full-length one if you really love it. And you can find that at juliebethany.com/courses or in the show notes here. And I'll put a clip in after Kippen makes her episodely appearance too. I hope you go out today and start to live the life of your dreams as the best, most authentic, truest to you version of yourself you can be. Because when you do that, you show others it's possible for them too. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Here's my girl. Can you say hi? I don't know if you heard that or not, but she's really not loving. This is our life, friends. This is life with a cat, and it's really great. You want to say hi? Girl is wild. I hope you have a great day. Okay, bye everyone. I interrupt myself for this very important announcement. You're so welcome. I am beyond excited to share with you that I have a free mini course you can take right now, but also maybe wait until after you finish this episode, but to each their own. I'm not going to stop you from doing you. But the course is about helping you get unstuck and re-inspired if you feel like you're in a place, like a lot of us do often, honestly, where you just don't know what you want next for your life, or if you do, how to get it. The mini course includes 10 quick minutes of me sharing strategies to help you get unstuck and re-inspired, and comes with a complimentary one-page journal entry you can download for you to work through what you want for your life and how to create the momentum to get what you want next for yourself in the easiest and fastest way possible. And you'll take away actionable items you can apply right away. And as a bonus, after the initial course, if you're still left wanting more, I'll tell you about my full-length version of that course that will walk you through creating a goal and a plan to achieve it in order to get you closer to the life of your dreams you want to be living, and the exact steps to do that over the next 3 months. I will hold your lovely hands in mine and guide you toward figuring out what you want and then how to get it efficiently if you want to take it a step further. I shall run the marathon with you after the sprint so that in 3 months you will have achieved something you really want in your life. All good things take time, so for the sake of the best version of yourself and the life you could be living 3 months from now, which will fly by, you don't need to put off your dreams any longer. You deserve to live the life of your dreams as soon as possible, because why not? So let's start today. I'm ready. Are you? To check it out and get the free mini course so you can apply the tools to improve your life right away, and or to learn more about the full-length course about going from stuck to re-inspired and really crushing a massive goal in only 3 months' time with me, the links are included with this episode. I can't wait to see what you create for your life with it. And now back to your regularly scheduled programming.